Okay, we're here with Sal Giglio, and it's October 18th, 2009, and we're just going to hear some stories that will be part of his video autobiography. So we're going to hear stories of his childhood and growing up, everything from Brooklyn all the way through the Depression to World War II and whatever he wants to share.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with the earliest memories I have. And the earliest memories were when we lived in a little bungalow that my father built. And it was up on cinder blocks. And there was a space underneath. And we had a dog by the name of Nellie. It was a female dog. And we also had a little chicken coop in the back. I remember that my father used to go to the chicken coop and pick up an egg and punch a hole on either side of the egg and suck the inside of the egg out.
And this is in Brooklyn?
This is in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And so I did the same thing.
So you're sucking the raw egg.
And I was about 2.5, 3 years old then.
Wow.
And then my father went and started building a new house. And it was in those days, it was a very nice house.
Where was that?
In Canarsie.
Canarsie.
It was in Canarsie, and it was a brick building with an upstairs and a downstairs. And I remember when he demolished the bungalow. The big house was ready to live in, even though it wasn't finished. And I remember how he took the bungalow apart all by himself. He had no help, and he just reduced it to lumber.
Now, how big was your family at this time?
Well, let's see. There was Tommy, Mary, Robbie, Otto, me. We were five, and Uncle Sardi. Sardi was on his way. And he was born in the new house after we moved into the new house. Now, just as luck would have it, the Depression came full force. We lived in the house for about a year, and then we had to give up the house. My father lost the house through the Depression.
What year was that approximately?
That was about 1930.
1930. So you were 5 years old?
I was 5 years old. And there was no jobs. In the meantime, there was no income. So Al Capone and some of our relatives, they got together and said, come to Chicago and we'll give you a job. So my father went to Chicago, and then the whole family followed. And when we followed, we were on a train, and all we had to eat was mozzarella and salami.
For how long of a train ride?
The train, can you believe that train ride was about 3 full days?
My goodness, New York to Chicago.
Yeah. And there was a lot of soot coming in from the coal-fired engine, you know.
So it was a coal steam engine train.
Yeah. And if you put your hand on the windowsill, your hand will be black. So anyway, we finally get to. I was sick all the way. I couldn't stand that mozzarella. We finally get to Chicago, and we stayed with a relative. But first, they gave us something to eat. And you won't believe how famished I was for meat. And they had some lamb chops. I think I could have ate the bones. Anyway, so now we're in Chicago. And my father had a job making moonshine. And it was like a flat, 4-roof flat, railroad flat they call it.
So an apartment?
Yeah.
In the city of Chicago.
And there was 4 rooms on one level. And all he had there was a mattress. The family had another house where they rented, and They lived in the other house. But my father took me with him to make the moonshine. So I was helping him make moonshine. And my job was, he used to put the mash and the sugar and everything into a vat. And there were 4 vats, 4 rooms, 4 vats, maybe 5, I forget. And the moonshine would drip into these big cans. They were 5-gallon cans, just like square. They used to call them tins.
Sort of like where syrup would come in, like syrup cans, perhaps? Maple syrup type?
That was,
yeah. Now, did you know it was moonshine? You probably had no idea what it was.
Yeah, sure, you knew.
Oh, you knew it, but you were 5 years old.
Oh, I didn't know, but he knew.
Okay.
I guess I might have heard heard moonshine or alcohol, but it didn't make much sense to me anyway. I was only 5 years old. So my job was to watch the drip going into the cans, and if the can was almost full, I had to wake my father up and tell him number 3 is almost full. So he'd get up and say, "Yeah, very good, thank you." And he would put an empty can underneath and take the full one out and cap it. Because I could never move those cans, they're so heavy. Anyway, and that's what we were doing at that time for Al Capone.
And so this was obviously during Prohibition.
Yeah.
And, okay. How long did you stay in Chicago? Do you know?
We stayed in Chicago almost a year. I think they said 11 months. So then we came back from Chicago, and somehow I missed the first day of school. So I had to wait a whole year. Now, I waited a whole year to go to school, made me a year late. I guess you're supposed to start at 6, I started at 7 or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But my first day of school, I had no coat and I had no shoes. But the authorities insisted that I go to school. So my father went to the dumps, I guess, and he found some old galoshes with holes in them. And he says, "You put these on and go to school."
Wow, really?
So I went to school with my brother Tato. We went to the same school. In fact, my sister Mary was in the same school, so was Providence.
Do you remember the name of it?
I don't remember the name of the school. Well, one number comes up to me, it was Public School 23, but I'm not sure of that.
Canarsie?
No, this is in Brooklyn. Yeah, when we came back from Chicago, we went to Brooklyn. So, anyway, within a few days, somebody brought in a coat for me and a pair of shoes. So I was okay for a while. What else?
So this was during the Depressionary time, obviously. So people were begging for bread. We hear about the bread lines during the Depression. Tell me a little about that.
Well, and my father said, "Come with me." And he had a baby carriage. I don't want to tell you how he got it.
Doesn't matter.
But he had a baby carriage, and he puts me in the baby carriage, and we go to the church. And we go into the church, and he asked to see the father, or the Monsignor. Anyway, Monsignor comes out, and my father, he tells me to tell the priest, the Monsignor, because it was, Monsignor spoke English, I was my father's interpreter.
And your father only spoke Italian?
Yeah, my father only spoke Italian. So I said to the Monsignor, I forget, it was Monsignor or father, I said, my father says, maybe you could help us with some flour so we can make some bread. Because we have 5 children at home and we don't have anything to eat. So the Monsignor says, go to the back and we'll help you get a bag of flour. So my father puts me back in the carriage and he goes to the back of the church and there's somebody there with a bag of flour and we put it in the carriage and then he puts me in the carriage and we go home and now we have a bag of flour to make bread with. I'll stop now.